Welcome to the journey. I'm Corey, and I'm your host, and together we are shattering the illusion. Welcome back. Thanks for joining me. Feeling the aloha spirit here today on a Thursday, and we're coming to you from the Big Island of Hawaii on a cloudy day and a little bit of rain. We've been a little bit of dry over here on the island, and we're happy to get a little bit of rain over here. So it's a beautiful day, and hopefully you can hear me. It's a little bit windy. I'm in kind of an area where you can hear the wind quite a bit because it's a screened in area. It's pretty cool that we don't have to always have windows over here just because it doesn't really get cold here, which is kind of fun. And so welcome back. And the show is really talking about perseverance and really surrendering to the art of being in flow. And that's something that my beloved Bria and I have been experiencing a lot of, is just really just learning to surrender at deeper and deeper levels. And it is one of those things that takes practice and courage to be able to really release the need to constantly be pulling from the old paradigm and the old ways of being, and usually based around safety or fear of not having, or usually just a fear of something, not being comfortable, whatever it is. It's usually based on that first chakra need that needs healing. And so that's something we've been looking at a lot lately, and perseverance has definitely been one of the words of the day, and empowerment, and moving through some wild times and amazing times and wild times as well. And I'm just going to start off sharing a little bit about our journey. Bria and I have been on a journey here in Hawaii and a whole new life. We had left Ecuador, and we had met in Ecuador and left there as the energy shifted for us there, and knew we needed to be in the islands, just really feeling called, because we're both spent, half of our childhood or more or less here on the Big Island of Hawaii. And the Big Island of Hawaii is really that, it is the first chakra, that energy of the Shakti and that beingness. And it's very much about creation and that earth, just that seed of the earth and that fire. And so you get a lot of that energy here come up for you pretty quick. And it's really interesting. It's things seem to happen on a accelerated level from what my experiences of being in different places on the planet, because we're sitting on the creation. So things are manifesting, and depending on, of course, our own consciousness, right? Our own consciousness and how we are seeing it, and our vision for things, and the way our chakras are aligned. And so it brings up things really fast here, I've found, in the island, which is great, and sometimes can be challenging. And so here we are, and we moved to Hawaii, within 2 months. I think we had left Ecuador and spent a little time in California, and jumped right into the Big Island of Hawaii and the beautiful salty ocean of the Pacific, and really drinking that up for sure, and using that as a way to do cleansing and manifesting, and really sending out a lot of vibration from this beautiful island, this beautiful emerald in an ocean, a sapphire ocean of the Pacific blue. So we've really found that as we do our work and we practice the art of being in flow and surrendering, and really being focused on the divine and serving from an abundant spirit, that it really moves quickly out into the world as we help ourselves stay on path, and being with spirit, and working with others as much as possible. And working with others could be as simple as a smile walking down the street, and we have a lot of tourism over here. And so you get a lot of people coming over to see the islands, and I know they're really seeking something, they're really seeking to know what, paradise and the energy of creation, and the beauty of the green, and the lava fields, and it's quite amazing. There's a lot of magic here. And so, you get a lot of unconscious people too that have never been here, and they get here, and there's all this mana, as we call it, in the islands. There's a lot of power and energy, and so there needs to be, or I find myself focusing on really holding a lot of vibration for folks that are visiting as well. We spent some time down at the green sand beach. There's a green sand beach on the southern part of the island, and it's an olivine, which is just really a powerful healer. And it is in actually a crater, an old volcanic crater, and the collapsed crater gave way on half of it, so the ocean just beats against the ocean, and it's just pure olivine that you're swimming in, and it's really a special place. And I hadn't been there in maybe 14 years or something, and nobody ever used to come down there. And we got down there, and there were boatloads of people, not boatloads, but trucks full of people coming in, because people were giving them rides and things. And I thought, wow, it's going to be crowded. It's going to be kind of crazy. But it was really a healing moment to watch all these people come and interact with the ocean and in this olivine crystalline sand. And at first I was kind of put off, because I didn't really want to be with a lot of people and be crowded. And sometimes I find it harder to meditate or to be in connection when there's a lot of people. But what I found was everybody was really lit up by the ions and the crystalline matrix of the sand. And I just really saw how much healing was happening for so many people, including myself and my family. And it was really amazing to watch. And I just really had a vision and realized that all these people, even though they were coming to see this thing that was, that you don't find everywhere on the planet, is the green sand beach. And I realized that we were all really seeking, was not just a fascination with the green sand beach, but was true crystalline healing. And so that was really an amazing revelation to be able to see all these people really basking and healing, and especially after everybody being cooped up from the COVID, and a lot of people just really needing to get out, and get out and experience more nature and expand. And so that's great. Really great to see that happening, because as we know, as people are in their joy and they're experiencing nature, we are able to really focus in on that spiritual nature that's in all of us, and a reawakening just being in nature. And if you go in special places in nature, or the energy is even higher, it's amazing what miracles can happen. And that's what I saw happening, and I've been witnessing happening. And some of the island gets a little stressed, because that's a lot of tourism, and a lot of people wearing sunscreen that's not reef friendly. And so there's a lot of work to be done for education and awareness around taking care of the Aina, which is taking care of the land. And so that's something that Bria and I want to be working on, is just helping educate people and promoting things that really help take care of the environment, and allowing the people, the beings of this planet, to do the healing work in places like Hawaii, and also reestablishing or renewing sustainable practices that the ancients knew about. And so these are the things that we're working on over here. And of course, sustainable farming is a big one for us. So getting back to perseverance and surrender, it's just been such a surrender. Bria and I have stayed in probably 6 different places. We stayed on a farm stay at a B&B. We stayed in a condo down in Kona, Kailua Kona. We've been camping. We were caretaking a house for 4 weeks. And so basically what we've learned through that experience is, when you have your stuff everywhere and you don't really, it feels kind of naked, it feels pretty raw, because all of us can focus. It's easier to focus when you have everything in front of you. Maybe your kitchen, your things, and everything's in their place. It's easier to be able to be in a flow. So we've been learning to really surrender and be in the art of being, and being in our beingness, and almost be floating like a lotus on a sea that's sometimes is moving up and down. And so learning to just be in our center and be in our hearts and know who we are and know the truth of who we are and what our mission is, has taken a lot of practice. And so we've been practicing a lot in caretaking and camping, and so it's really taught us a lot about really focusing on the breath, really being in the heart, really learning to just be. And home is where the heart is, right? And I really get that. And so at some point, we've learned so much, but we're going to be moving into a little farmhouse probably in a couple of weeks. We're fixing it up and getting it to the way we want it to, and we're going to be living off grid on a farm, a sustainable farm that's full of fruit trees and avocados, and there's a couple donkeys there too, and it's just a lot of fun. A couple cats, and yeah, so we're doing that, and we're really going to be practicing sustainability and spiritual practices, and we're going to be doing some videos. We're working on that, so we really want to share what we're interacting with and the things that are happening over here. And I feel like there's a lot of to be shared, and so we want to share that with you. And so we'll be bringing that to you soon. So yeah, getting back to surrender, that has been a deep surrender for us, and being able to still, not lose our way, which, there were moments where we're like, what's going on? What are we going to do? And as we got to that point where it felt like we were at the end of our rope, we had the tools to trust ourselves and to put our hands on our heart and just breathe and lay down on the grass and just be available to the divine and surrender. It's just that moment of just like floating on an ocean, right? And just floating there and just allowing our breath to inform us and to be connected to the divine. And there's always something, and then something would happen, like as far as our income and things like that, where I was able to help some people, and she's been able to help some people with gardening, and I've been helping them with their solar off-grid needs, and being able to sell a few things that are helping people to be able to off-grid and run off the sun and things like that. And it's been able to sustain us. And my kids have been here I was entertaining for over 5 weeks with my amazing kids. And I wasn't sure how I was going to make it all work without a house and a place to make it all happen. And we just trusted. And we rented a B&B for a week, and we were able to do some trades with people, and it just all worked out. And the money was there, and the places to stay were there, and the ocean, and this beautiful place we call Hawaii. And the Aloha Spirit is is alive and well here in Hawaii. I can assure you of that. And we're feeling that right now. And so we just wanted to share. I say we because Bria's not too far from here, and just wanted to share that with you because we're really feeling that perseverance, that surrender, and to learning to be. And that's really where that first chakra is all about. In the ascended state is all about being, serving from an abundant spirit, being able to serve even when we think we're not serving. Even just a smile upon our face is helping people that are locked into a matrix that we're all familiar with, where we're so preoccupied with how do we pay the bills, how do we take care of our body, how do we do this, how do we do that, and so I know that space, and I've found that even a smile and a kind word and a hello really makes a difference for people, and that is serving right there, just by being friendly and offering aloha. And aloha is basically just living in that joy and that beingness of love. I'm wearing my shirt today, and it says aloha, and then you see the love in there too, see? Because it's all one thing. And so anyways, yeah, getting back to surrender. Surrender has been a huge one, and it is one of the 4 steps of self-ascension. Surrender and be in union, release judgment, and unconditional love are the 4 steps of self-ascension. And self-ascension is one of my favorite practices and pathways to assist each and every person who wishes to be on their own individual path, but have some guidance. And so that's something that I really enjoy, and working with self-ascension, and to really let go of some of the old paradigms. And that's what it's been for me, is just what surrender has meant to me recently, is releasing the old paradigm and the old fear of that first chakra, of it has to be done this way and this way and this way, because it was so reliable in the past, and reliable on the path that has led to the wider path of ascension and opening and expansion. So surrender, and it does take courage to surrender, because we are all often are set in our ways generally, especially as adults, and to let go sometimes feels like a dying and a letting go. And that's what it's been. It's been a letting go and a rebirth, and surrender and trust, and really being in the trust, being on that trust train. I like to say, on the trust train, choo choo choo. Anyways, having a little fun with it. But so surrender is such a big one, and letting go of the old paradigm, because the old paradigm is based on fear. The whole system is based on fear. The third dimension, the matrix, is based on fear. All the establishment, and as we're seeing that shift, which is amazing, and we're getting the ultimate nudge, and that's in so many different ways. With the planet shifting and with COVID and all these things, it's like it's more of a nudge now. It's kind of a kick in the butt, right? It's a real kick in the butt, and so. Just a real wake up. And so, surrendering and that being in union, the other step of self-ascension, to really be in union with the body and soul and the divine as one, really surrendering to be in union, because we have to surrender the old way, the old paradigm, and into the new paradigm. And the new paradigm is really that allness, which is oneness, and it's like that practice that they have where you have someone stand behind you and then you just fall into them, and that's but what's behind us is the divine, and maybe that person is the divine. Same thing. It's like letting informing ourselves and practicing and having the courage to let go and practice that. And that's what it's been for Bria and I and many beings that know exactly what I'm talking about. And so practicing that, and it takes a lot of courage and then to be in union with that body, soul, and the divine as one energy, right? So that's been fun, and really feeling that. And of course, unconditional love starting with you, right? Just really loving ourselves, really smiling in the mirror, looking into our eyes when we look into the mirror, and practicing unconditional love, starting with ourselves, is such a great practice. I mean, just looking in the mirror, for me, for years, I've been practicing this, and it's always a challenge, and it's getting easier and easier over time. Letting go of the illusion of what we think our body, our hair, our everything should look like on us, and just loving what the divine has provided for us, and letting go of all that old paradigm that says it has to be this way, and the color hair has to be that, and the eyes have to be, and the eyebrows have to be shaped, and whatever, all the stuff that came up for me, and just letting go of all that and just saying, hey, this is great. I love you, and so I think we should all just take a moment and give ourselves a hug. Just wrap yourselves up and just say, I love you. Wow, you're so amazing. What a beautiful body and everything that's here. I love it so much. And just really, really owning that, and reassuring that inner child, the one that may have had a tough time in the early years. And more than likely, we all went through our own trials and tribulations, as a young child, coming into a world that is filled with so many pathways and ways of being, and to really just love ourselves and bow before ourselves and say thank you. And so unconditional love starts with ourselves, and then it makes it so much easier to do it for others. Because usually when we're judging outside, if we're looking out and we're judging, it's usually because there's something inside that's not totally healed, right? And so if we are able to do that, we can feel so much better and be so much lighter when we're really loving ourselves and just giving ourselves the namaste. Because when we give ourselves the namaste, it's that mirror, and every divine mirror is all around us, whether it's the sky, clouds, people, animals. It's always there to remind us, and it's a constant practice. The ultimate feedback system is what I call this universe, this whatever we want to call it. It's a feedback system that is constantly giving us feedback. And so if we are able to really focus right here and be in the heart and lift up and let that vehicle deliver us into the higher dimensions, and we can sustain that the more that we practice doing so. And unconditional love, releasing judgment, these are huge. And it's interesting with the 4 steps of self-ascension that I learned about maybe 10 years ago. And it's always moving from one to the next. It's like, the last couple months have been a lot of surrender, for me. And being in union has been a really big one. And of course, unconditional love and releasing judgment has been such a big one for me in the last 2 or 3 years, maybe 5 years, just really letting go and just knowing that any illusions that may have been in my this brain of mine that may have projected something that was really the illusion, and just knowing that I have the ability inside me to practice loving myself and loving my neighbors and loving all that is. It's a great place to be. And really surrendering to beingness, that first chakra, getting back to that first chakra, I really want to focus quite a bit on the first chakra today, because I've been really feeling that beingness and working towards a life that is the majority of my time is spent serving from an abundant spirit. And for me, that has been working towards really doing the healing work majority of the time and connecting with clients online and helping the planet and helping educate people on how we can be in union with the earth. Is such a big deal. And so, but oftentimes the first chakra is that safety, right? The traditional chakra, traditional first chakra. I'm having trouble talking lately. Everything just seems to be blending because the energy is so rich. Telepathy, yeah, definitely working on that a lot because it just seems easier than using words. But I'm still working on keeping those words clear. So anyway, so the first chakra, yeah, just really about going from that fear energy, that preoccupation with safety, and really just getting to a place where being is the anchored energy of the first chakra. And the first chakra is all about that Shakti energy and that earth creation center coming up through us and creating and manifesting. So to be in that comfortable within ourselves, it's all about comfortable with our own inner processes and comfortable with taking action as well. And some people say, well, you can't just be, but we can practice being, being, radiating light, but also with these beautiful bodies, we can be out doing things out in the world that make a difference for our own lives and, of course, for others that are really on that path or not on the path and just serving on a path for expansion, because we're at that point on the planet where we really have to, shouldn't use the word have to, but really at a point where the manifestation needs to be in that loving vibration. Otherwise, the reflection, what is the reflection? If it's more fear and more fear and more fear, we get more of that, right? We just get more of what we're putting out. So to really be in that beingness, that settled energy, that energy of serving from an abundant spirit. And when we really are anchored in that first chakra, that healed first chakra, and I'd like to do, towards the end of the show, I'd like to do a chakra healing, balancing, before we go, a little meditation, a visualization about bringing those chakras into balance. And so anyways, coming back to the first chakra, when it's really vibrating at that higher frequency and it's stabilized, then the first three chakras can be stabilized, and we can really be truly anchored in our heart, which gives that energy and that rocket fuel to lift us up through the throat chakra, into the vision chakra, and into our wisdom, and into the expanded crown chakra, and up into the higher dimensions in 5th and 7th and 9th. Getting a little bit of rain here. Hopefully it's not too loud. I'll speak up a little bit. Anyway, so the first chakra is really important, and to heal that area, it's really about getting comfortable with your beingness and comfortable with your own disposition as a person. Excuse me. And really through service to others, the chakra offers a foundation for spiritual energy and divine love, which is offering abundance into the world by putting that out there and really holding that energy and reaffirming your intentions to make life better for others and not just for ourselves. It's really important. So, because we all are one energy, and we're finding out as these world events and different things happen, is that everything is really connected. I mean, it's all one energy, and it's being proven, or let's say reflected back to us. And and some of us take longer to realize, that that's what's happening. I know for me, it took me a long time to get out of that self-serving, especially as a young man, to really get out of that, to really learn to be more serving and abundant and loving, because the world, as an example, was so about competition and power and things like that. So it takes time to do that, and sometimes it can happen in a minute, especially with the energy now. I mean, the energy is moving there's so much flow now, that it's almost hard to keep up with, because it's just like boom, 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 and so that first chakra is just really about really being in the energy of service, both inwardly and outwardly, and to attract abundance into our lives. And therefore, as we attract those resources and things, and then we can help others by bringing that abundance into our own lives, and then we can offer that out, as a platform to help others that are looking to do the same thing, and to be there for people that really would have ideas and things that they want to do, but they're not sure how to get to that next step. And that's true for me, and all the guidance I've had from my teachers, and just some really beautiful beings that have helped me, like Sri and Kira and other people and family, and so many steps along the way have helped deliver that. And so pay it forward, right? The old pay it forward. And so that chakra is really about beingness and serving from an abundant spirit, comfortable with our own inner processes, and comfortable taking that action and bringing that energy out into the world and helping others. And so, that beingness and comfortableness, and it's comfortable in our own skin. And so that chakra really makes a difference. And to be able to get that Shakti energy and to allow that to flow up into our reality in our everyday lives is so important. And so a great practice for the first chakra, something that is a great way to help that chakra be more in alignment, is really being connected to the effort extended, not the outcome. And so whatever you're doing, if it's a job or whatever you're doing, practice being connected to the effort extended, not the outcome. And so many of us, including myself, along the way have judged ourselves harshly, or given ourselves the crack on the back with the whip in order to propel us forward, because we thought that's what we had to do. Coming in a little closer here because the rain is getting pretty strong. Hopefully you can hear me. And so allowing the altruism of divine love to flow through you and release the need to control, and to really get that, not be so concerned with that feedback, because once we truly love ourselves, or in that self-love, then we really don't need that feedback, because we know who we are, right? To not be concerned what others think. That's a big one, right? I mean, I grew up in Southern California, an amazing place, beautiful beaches, and just a fun place to live, especially as a young man. But oftentimes it was always about what other people thought, right? It's always about, how shiny my car is, or these certain clothes, these brands, these special watches and jewelry and all this stuff. And so it took me a while to unravel that, to really be comfortable and not worry about what other people think. And I'm not saying I'm 100% there, but, it's a practice, and so, I'm sure all of you are very familiar with that. We all have that, and I think more than others, depending on our upbringing and things like that. And so, to really be in that abundant being and serving from an abundant spirit, the first chakra, really important. And so I think it's really important also to talk about, self-care, with this ascension and all the energy that's happening, and all of us, there's a lot of energy moving forward, and there's a lot of people breaking through, and some people, are breaking through and then get pulled back, which I'm so familiar with. And so I just want to talk a little bit. It's a little bit hard to breathe. There's so much moisture in the air right now. It's that where it almost feels like it's hard to breathe, because it's raining here and it's beautiful, and we're so happy to get the rain. This tree, you can tell that the trees and the plants are so much, the grass is so much happier getting our rain. And we may get a little visit from a hurricane here in about 5 days, which will give us good rain. We live on an island where you can almost get hit by a hurricane, or it will come close to the islands and it won't really cause that much damage, because we have two almost 14,000 foot volcanoes that create this atmospheric pressure. And once the hurricane runs into that, hopefully it breaks up. It doesn't affect the other islands that don't have as big as the mountains. And then we get all the moisture from it. So we're looking forward to a lot of moisture. Anyways, back to the subject at hand here, talking about self-care for the ascension, right? Because we do need to be in self-care in order to, it's really helpful and easier for the body to adjust to these crystalline energy matrices that we're in, basically, as it shifts. Water is so important. And I know sometimes I say this a lot, even though I haven't done a show in probably 3 or 4 weeks now. Water, drinking good water. If you are able to get some kind of water that's has been spun or has a higher matrix of spring water, or even just taking your filtered water, if you can filter it and then get a really beautiful crystal that you love and give it the love of your heart, and then put it in there when you drink it, and that'll really bring up the energy of it, is a good way to do it. And so really just getting in water and taking salt baths, sea salt baths, or even putting your feet in a bucket of salt water and just soaking in that for a while is a great thing to do to help move energy, especially. So the water is really important so if you can, take a bath and just really work with the water, because the water is abundance. It's the flow of life. It's the energy flow. And we're surrounded by it here in Hawaii. So we are really steeped in it here. And it's, of course, around the whole planet, this beautiful blue planet that's mostly water, and your body's mostly water. So focusing on the water is a really great thing to do. Even doing a water fast is with just lemon, for the day, and just drink lemon water all day. Really helpful. And it really, bringing all those fluids in here really helps energy move through your body. I think of it as like, how if you're standing in water and you touch electricity, it's going to go right through you really quickly, because it's able to move through you quicker. So the same thing with the energy of the universe, the prana, right? The chi, it's going to move through you if you're hydrated a little better. Speaking of, I think I'm going to have a little bit of water just to keep my throat happy. And so drinking lots of water and food, getting back to the nourishing ourselves, nourishing with primary source foods. And I call them primary source just because the closer they are to the source, or, one of the sources of course of life on this planet is the sun, right? So if you're eating something that is grown in the sun, like a peach or a mango or a tomato or a squash, or anything that's is basking in pure sunlight and absorbing sunlight, is really going to have a lot of that source energy in it. So by nourishing yourself with that, it's going to help the energy move through your body more, and it's going to bring in more of that positive source flow energy. So eating something that is just grown in the sun, and everything else out from there, whether it's if you're eating, if it's dairy or if it's meat, all those things have to eat source foods in order to become that which we eat, right? So if we're eating primary source foods, which can be mostly vegetables, vegetables, you'll get more of that energy. And it's nothing wrong with eating dairy or eating some meat, but there are benefits to eating more of a plant-based diet, because you're eating more of a source energy, rather than, with, like, say a more of a meat diet, you're down the line. The cow eats the grass, and then you eat, and then you eat the cow. And when it comes to the meat part, you're going to have a lot of accumulations of toxins and everything that's in the environment, whatever it is. It's going to accumulate, and then you're eating those accumulations. So therefore, you're going to have to detox. So if you eat more of a plant-based diet, and I'm not saying you can't eat meat, but I'm just saying if you eat more of the plants, it's going to be easier for your body and your systems to be able to adjust to this frequency. And so just a little thought on that as far as eating. And chewing food well is really important. Really chewing. I used to just swallow my food. Just one bite and swallow it. And it took me a while to figure out. And of course, with my stepmom, Carol, would always remind me to slow down. And she was right. And I didn't realize it when I was younger. And it's so true, to really chew your food and turn it into a liquid, almost like baby food, before you swallow it. And something that the archangels have often talked about is thank you, I love you while you're eating it. Chew, thank you, chew, I love you, chew, thank you, chew, I love you. So if you can have that gratitude and the love, and of course the preparation. Don't forget about the preparation. Who's preparing your food, right? If you have someone who's really in that loving spirit and is just in that joy at preparing the food, you're going to get that. And if you're eating, maybe fast food might be an example. If you're eating those kind of things, then, the energy, well, the food quality for one, is not as far from ideal, and it's cheap and it fills you up. But if you can eat good foods and eat it with love, and hopefully from someone who's prepared it with love in yourself, it's really important to do so, because then we get more of that source energy, that more loving frequency. And that way we don't have to constantly be, clearing out things, like the container practice, which is great. And I use a lot where you're using the container practice to release things. But if we're filling up on things that are not of the highest and are more of a lower frequency, it makes it more work. And all of us know that we're already working really hard just to be on the planet and to lift ourselves up and do the practices and do all the details of life. It's a practice. It's a practice. So therefore, getting back to self-care, because self-care is so important. And as I remind you, I'm reminding myself to be in these practices of drinking water and eating good food whenever we can, and growing your own food. If you can grow something, it's really fun. Even if you have just a couple pots on your balcony or something, or in the window, it's just fun to nurture something, and it's healing to watch those leaves grow and to really take care of something like a plant. It's really great. And that's something that Bria and I are going to be really focusing on a lot with food, especially food crops mostly, in teaching people how to work with the biointensive method, which basically is a closed loop, sustainable growing system that once you have tested your soils and you have added a few minerals and things that are not there, you can actually grow everything you need to put into that soil, and for it to be sustainable and not need to pull from the earth all the time, and to be cultivating the beneficial bacteria in the soil, doing practices that actually accelerate what the earth is already doing, but without need to take from the earth, right? Where you can use minimal things to, you can do practices that keep the bugs away, and things like companion planting, and things where there's certain plants that you put around, herb plants and things that you plant, and basically it helps create biodiversity and balance within the garden. And so that's, take a look if you're interested in farming. Biointensive is, there's biodynamic, which is great too. I tend to lean towards the biointensive. Personally, I like it because it's mostly vegan. It doesn't require it requires less, and it's easier to create a farm where you don't have to feed animals and things like that. And there's nothing wrong with it. I think that's great too. I enjoy visiting farms with goats and chickens and stuff, and really neat. But you can create a simpler system with biointensive, and look up biointensive. I think it's biointensive.org. And my ex-father-in-law is one of the creators of that. And it's a really great system. And I did it for 5 years and took rocky clay soil and brought it to balanced fertility within 4 years, doing compost cropping and calorie crops. And it's really the research of over 40 years have proven that we can feed ourselves on a lot less land than we thought. And it's so far away from some of these mass producing farming practices that, they plant everything super far apart, and all the water gets, the water gets taken out by the sun. And when you plant close, everything's, when you have a plant like 2 plants like this, and when you have a plant like this, it shades itself. And when it shades itself, it allows less evaporation, and it also traps some of the, gosh, I can't think of it right now. Anyways, biointensive.org. Check it out. Really great. And if you're doing even just a tiny little garden, or if you're just planting a couple things in your pot, get the book, and because it's really important that more of the planet starts farming and getting away from these factory farming situations that are just, not good for the planet and not good for us. It's like robotic plants, and GMOs and all these things. And it's part of the, what we're in right now. And it's time to transform, and the earth's talking to us, and she knows, and these traditions have been around for thousands of years, and the Mayans and the indigenous, they know this stuff. And there's a lot of research that includes the ancient wisdom of the indigenous and around the planet, and techniques that are learned now from scientific understanding of how you move the soil, or how you don't move the soil, and you just put things on top. So anyways, getting back to being in the garden, on the farm if you can, or visiting your local farm, or getting a basket from a CSA from your local farm, or traveling out to see a farm and getting there is a great healing. And it's also, if you have the ability to be with a plant, to be with a little garden, it can be really healing. To me, it's one of the ultimate meditations, is being in the garden. And just being in there can really shift your energy, and it's a good thing to do. It's a good thing for the planet, and it's a good thing for your body to feed yourself with something that you put love into, and you put all your care and your nurturance and your love into it, and then you ingest that, and you get the benefits of that, and then you've been easy on the earth, and so it's a win-win. Okay, so moving on from farming, and Bria and I will have some videos at some point talking about fruits and vegetables and growing, and different ways of doing that. And so it's going to be fun. I hope you'll join us for that. A couple other things I want to talk about. Fluorescent lighting is a biggie. You may already know this, but getting away from fluorescent lights. Get rid of the fluorescent lights if you can. It's amazing that most of our kids are loaded with schools that are, as kids are going back to school. The fluorescent lighting is a very low frequency. And so getting into better light sources is good. And if you can get involved in your local community and bring that to the attention of some of these school boards, that we need to, and a lot of stuff's going to LEDs, and some of the LEDs are better. It's a better frequency. It's not perfect, but it's better than the fluorescent, which really can trap negative energies. And anyways, so getting away from the fluorescent lights is a positive thing to do. It's all these things that really add up to making ascension and a lifting, high vibe creation, new earth paradigm possible. Sun gazing. If you can get out there and do some sun gazing, highly recommend it. First thing in the morning at sunrise and at sunset, great time to do it. Therefore, it's safer for those that are beginning, especially because the atmosphere, you have a lot more atmosphere as the sun is, rising here and then setting here. You have the globe here, and then you have the light is going through more atmosphere. So it makes it easier on your eyes, and you're still getting all the source benefits. Because when we stare at the sun, we are getting that primary source energy. It's kind of like what I was talking about earlier. We're talking about eating foods that are primary source, sun-grown, not hydroponic. Well, some hydroponic can be done with the sun, but sun-grown, source light, the way nature intended it, right? And so sun gazing, you can get those benefits directly to you, and these are these are ways that we can move away from the need to eat some or have the need to pull from the earth so much. We can get a lot of it. We can feed that in our chi and our flow through the primary source of the sun gazing. And moon as well. Moon's a great thing to do, is just stare at the moon. Really enjoy that moon. It just fills you up with love and light of the source light that is, and the sun is a reflection of all that, right? It's just that great source light. And then another practice, blue sky gazing. Basically, if you have a blue sky, well, you don't have to use a blue sky, but if you do have a clear sky, and if you have a cloudy sky, you can do that. Like I have a cloudy sky right now, and basically, all you do is open your eyes up. Focus on a breath, maybe an Ave Sa breath, or any kind of deep breath in the nose, out the mouth, or your yoga practice or something, and really just focus on the sky, and just you don't have to look at the sun, especially in the middle of the day, but basically find a spot in the sky where it's not too bright and you can actually do it. And especially a blue sky day would be really good. And then just know that all the cosmos are outside of that, outside the atmosphere. All those stars and planets, especially those stars, trillion, billion, whatever it is, gazillion stars that are out there, full of that source light, never-ending, light source. Allow that to come through the blue and go right into your eyes. Just allow all those stars to fill your entire body with that source loving light. And this is what I'm calling blue sky gazing. And it doesn't have to be blue sky. It could be a cloudy day too. But I particularly enjoy the blue on those days where you get the blue sky. And it's just so amazing because there's something about the blue as well. That blue energy, that blue starborn energy, right? Just that cosmic blue, get some of that with all that starlight that's coming into you. Because you are starlight, right? We're all made of it. But sometimes we forget, or we're in a matrix, been in a matrix for a long time, and we forget that we are that. And so by bringing that into our form really reignites all that we are. And so, do that gazing. Great thing to do. And of course, breathing. The breathing practices are so important to breathe the breath of life, right? Drink the water of life and breathe the breath of life. And a good old-fashioned hand on the heart, which I do a lot, and breathing in with the Ave Sa breath. I'm sure a lot of you are very familiar with the Ave Sa, which is a powerful practice of really just bowing before the universe and saying, I'm yours, and divine love is filling me up through that source of endless, infinite oneness. Any kind of breathing practice, holotropic breathing, some rebirthing practice breathing, really good, really connects, really fills you up with that oxygen, and really needing that right now with all this crystal and energy coming in. Sometimes these bodies just freak out because there's just so much frequency and light coming through that it's just, the body's just like almost like, whoa, what is all this, And so if we breathe and we focus on that, it makes it easier to be in that energy, and we're preparing our nervous system to really be in this new paradigm, and this, because as things open up, as the illusion starts to fade, and we start engaging or seeing, visioning how amazing, how much is out there, like the nervous system could have a little trouble with that. So it's really good to be in your practice, in your breathing, and in your just within you, and in that loving frequency. And all these things help that, right? Yeah. And of course, plant medicine, I highly recommend like microdosing with psilocybin. If you have any access to that, that's really tremendously helpful. And basically just helps helps me and those that I know and clients dissolve the illusion, of always looking at things as just linear, and like it's all malleable, it's all energy, and if we are able to ingest something from our beautiful planet that is a teacher that helps us see through the illusion, it's just really helpful. And it's a lot of joy in it too. It really helps us remember what it does for me is it really helps me remember how to be a child again, and how to be that playful child, which I think we all could use a lot of right now, right? When we see all these wild and crazy things happening, and we can be in that child play still and hold that frequency. If we hold that frequency, then as a collective, and the more of us that do that, then we have a playing ground that's more fun to play in, right? So let's play. Plant medicine, psilocybin, microdosing, great. Of course, San Pedro, if you have access to that, that's amazing down in Ecuador. Amazing. You can really transcend and heal a lot of things with that beautiful cactus plant. DMT, if you can find some pure, really pure, not synthetic forms of DMT, that's another one that can really shift the vision, the understanding, the perception from of this polarity, magnetic, illusional energy that's surrounding us, that is almost like tricking us into thinking that that's all there is. And I know when I've taken DMT, it's just like it all fades away. It all just fades away. and shows me the creation principle of how things are formed and how amazingly abundant the universe is, and how everything's expanding constantly, and the stars are exchanging information of source light and all that. So much going on, and it's so fun. So yeah, plant medicine, good thing to do. Just have to, probably good to have a guide for a good guide for DMT. And I would say if you have access to microdoses of psilocybin, it's pretty safe, really safe, actually, really safe. But you have to know your sources, and you want to get things that are organic and high vibration. Okay, so yeah, and all these things can prepare the nervous system for more crystalline energy, which is we're in it. But the more we can practice that way, and then just going back to what we talked a lot about the first chakra, and I'm just gonna kind of talk a little bit about the seventh chakra. I just feel like these two bookends, and it's not really a bookend. I mean, it's the wisdom chakra. This part of us that connects with the source and light. And then that first chakra, these two together, that Kundalini experiences, that is really about the wisdom and really having a spiritual practice of gratitude can really help keep the crown chakra and all the way up, and just basically open us. So we're in that exploded crown. Is begin the day with gratitude. Begin the day with thank you. Thank you as you breathe in your life, and notice the blessings that you're showered with, that we're all showered with, and that we often take for granted or forget. I'm definitely one of those that has those mornings where I just forget. But if we can start it with gratitude and have a sticky note or a little something where we wake up and we look at it and it just says, thank you, thank you. And then once you see the thank you, you're like, oh yeah, I have a place to sleep, or I have food to eat, just basics, and which are all blessings, right? And another thing before you go to sleep is to take a moment and just count the blessings of your day. Finish the day with the blessings of the day, and just kind of look at those. And it's amazing when you do, and you're like, wow, that happened, and maybe something that wasn't fun happened, and find the gift in that, because there's always a gift. There's a gift in every experience, and not always in the moment, right? Because it triggers us and makes us feel like things aren't going right. But there's always something more. There's always something. There's always something behind that we can't always see, and that's the beauty of shattering the illusion together, because the more the illusion drops, the more we know the truth, right? And we can be in our full truth and ignite more of ourselves, and be in community with others that are doing that, and make the playground a funner place to play and a safer place to play. All right, well, I think I'm coming to a close here today. Just want to say I love you, and namaste, and aloha. And I know that there's a lot to, as we move from a reality of separation, or a paradigm that has been based on separation, and we move into more of the understanding that the allness is oneness, and that we've learned so many gifts from that separation energy, and that you just keep going, and we just keep doing the practices, and we have made such strides, and even through all the trials and tribulations of everything we've come through especially in the last maybe 2 or 3 years, maybe our whole lives, it's leading us, and we keep going, and we have the courage, and know that there's more blessings waiting for us out there, and that the more that we do now, and the more that we are able to be in that first chakra, and the first chakra, the healed first chakra, that's all about be the love, right? And so the more we can radiate that out, and work on being in those, as an old friend of mine says, turn up your blissometer. Turn up your blissometer, whatever it takes. Just get there and hold it. And when you're not there, it's just another reminder that there's another way, and there's another focus. There's always breath, and they've actually proven it scientifically that you cannot be depressed if you're breathing regularly in a deep fashion. You're doing some kind of breathing practice. So if you're depressed, breathe, breath, practice, and start doing it sooner than later, because you won't have to be on medication and things like that, because your prana, you're moving the energy, and the energy, the universe is filled with joy and peace and love, and you are that. And so namaste, it's great to be back with you. Aloha. Look forward to Bria and I bringing some beautiful videos from Hawaii, and for sustainability, for love, for championing this amazing moment on the planet. Namaste, much love. Aloha.